So if you look at the strengths of the founders and the founding team, it's all about data. So data science, data analytics, machine learning, and AI. Nowadays people talk a lot about AI because of Sam Altman.
So how did that change the bitsCrunch trajectory immediately with that funding coming into the picture?
So yeah, we started with a small angel, and then we closed a seed of in total 750K, which is slightly less than $1 million. I mean, we started with NFTs as a space, but now we are moving beyond NFTs. So we wanted to be a blockchain analytics company, and there are competitors in all the businesses, right? I mean, everybody loves competition, and especially for me, the biggest inspirations are MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli. So I take up a lot of inspirations from cricketers out there who are from the native place, from the home ground, in a way. And if you look at both, one is cool as cucumber, calm headed, and the other one is full of aggression, right? Mhm. Yes, external influences are always there in any cases, right? I remember a scenario where uh, Cristiano Ronaldo just moved a water bottle and said, "Drink water."
Uh-huh.
Right? He moved away Coke bottle,
Coke. They had a
and then
$4 billion loss. Yeah.
yes.
FOMO is a real thing for this generation. Everyone wants to know and be a part of everything. FOMO grasps so many people in this world that they dive headfirst into things such as the NFT craze without really being aware of the reality. Due to this, mishaps, loss, and hysteria became very common, and in that chaos emerged a company that thought, yo, we cannot let the future be built this way. In today's episode of the Newzchain Podcast, we are so excited to host one of the leading 2022 Clutch Award companies, bitsCrunch. Aspiring to be the market leader, a one stop shop for all digital assets, bitsCrunch vision is clear. So please welcome Mr. Vijay Pravin Maharajan for today's episode of the Newzchain Podcast. So, hi Vijay, so how are you?
I'm great, Akshat. Thanks for having me here today on your pod. So you're doing an amazing job, and pleasure to be here today.
We are glad the pleasure is all ours. We have been looking forward to have you over for this episode. So, I was just about to ask you, like, have you used Riverside before?
Of course, several times.
So, is that what you have been using for your podcast? Like,
I have been using Riverside and a couple of other tools as well. So I usually like Restream, Riverside, and a couple of other platforms so that you do the pod in one place, and then that can be also communicated to several other places. But yeah, Riverside has been good mainly because of the quality, the video and the audio quality. So yeah, I love the tool.
oh, that's nice. I hope it works out well. We had a couple of issues in our previous episodes. Some people who you see the uploading issue, right? So we had to take like 20, 30 takes in a few episodes, and that was a task. Anyway, that's our editor's headache now. So,
Cool.
anyway, how was your
Okay.
Easter?
Easter was good. I live in Munich, Germany,
Mhm,
so here Easter is even more popular than in some other
mhm.
places. So Germany being a Catholic country, here they take a long break. I guess people are away from desk since Thursday till this Monday. I'm sure some people are taking an extended break, right? They go out with families. So yeah, went well. Just went to a small ride. I have a little one at home. She's about to turn 3 years old by next month. So yeah, just took some time off. Went to a nearby place. Went to Austria and Swiss, which is close by. And yeah, back to the table, back to where I belong, and I'm talking to you.
So that's nice. So, correct me if I'm wrong. It has been more than a decade since you have been in Germany, right?
Yes, so I live in Germany since 2013. So it's been more than 12 years, in fact, 10 and a half, more than 10 years, 10 and a half. And yeah, the primary reason for me moving to Munich was my master's degree. So I did my bachelor's back in Chennai, moved here last decade, did my master's, and then no looking back. I've been living here. I've worked for big companies like Volkswagen and Siemens, two German OGs in the Web2 space, I would say. And then now starting up bitsCrunch for the last 2 years. Things are good. Things are going well. We have raised more than $12 million, and yeah, can't complain. I've had the honor of leading an amazing team.
So bitscrunch started back in 2021, right? And that was, as we all know, the COVID era. So what was the spark of inspiration behind that? And I want to know like what made you decide to venture into the NFT space in the first place?
Mhm. So yes, absolutely. bitsCrunch, if you roll back to the past, we sort of started talking in 2020, and then materialized bitsCrunch in 2021. So if you look at the strengths of the founders and the founding team, it's all about data. So data science, data analytics, machine learning, and AI. Nowadays, people talk a lot about AI because of Sam Altman and OpenAI, what they have done to the broader community. But in a way, we have been talking about bitsCrunch. We have been talking about AI since the inception, since 2020. So AI is not something that we ride upon the wave because someone else is talking about it. No, never the case. We use AI and we have products. And data science, like I said, data science has been the biggest positive. If you look at my profile, I was a data scientist at Siemens. I was a data scientist at Volkswagen, two big companies out there. And if you look at my co-founder, he holds a master's degree in data analytics from Ireland, and my CTO is a data analytics PhD in Germany, right? So that goes without saying. So we wanted to start something in data space, and that's why we came up with a name called bitsCrunch. We crunch each and every bits of data. So that's the meaning of bitsCrunch. And we started with NFTs as a space because back then it was the NFT hype. People started buying crazy JPEGs, crazy NFTs out there, and started trading, flipping, and making money out of it. And we wanted to be the police of digital assets, right? That's the whole idea. Because a lot of data analytics, data charts, data visualization firms were there when we started, but we wanted to police the space. We wanted to see if there is malicious activity, if there is something going on, and we wanted to be the police. And coincidentally, funnily, my dad is a police in real life. So he was a police. He is still a police. He's retiring this year, later this year. And yeah, that police brain sort of was there on my uh, body and soul. So I wanted to try that out in blockchain. Glad it worked out. It is working out well. We have been building consistently, and yeah.
No, so that's quite fascinating, somehow the chaos and lack of direction in a particular field leading you towards an idea, right? And like even currently, if you would have heard, there have been so many scams I can associate to. Recently, again, the whole crypto zoo thing by Logan Paul that came into the picture, right? And there have been so many things that just happen over and over, and they're not resolved. Dumping, I guess. Just this morning, I saw the hashtag crypto crash, right? I don't know where it came from, but people associating dumping and just buying a lot of things. And yeah, I mean, we need someone like that. So s- like going towards that, right? You were centered in one of the most prominent countries in the EU, right? How did Munich's particular tech landscape and regulation influence like you and bitsCrunch in the early days?
To be honest, Munich is not the right place to start up. Germany is not the right place to start up because it's a highly legal, compliant, and regulatory focused landscape, and not a so-called startup friendly state in a way. But then since I live here for the last decade or so, for me it's easier and more straightforward to start something up here rather than starting somewhere else, right? That was the whole idea. And usually the time frame to start up, to set things up, to get a bank account, to register, it takes roughly 8 to 12 weeks or even more, sometimes even 16 weeks to do that. And for a startup, that's quite a long time, right? Because if you need to start up, if you want to raise funds, I'm not sure if investors are okay with waiting for 16 weeks, because they keep writing checks one after the other, and there are thousands of startups waiting at their footsteps. And why would an investor need to wait 3 months to 4 months in order to wire a transaction, which is so weird. But then no complaints. I mean, Munich has become my second home, home away from home. I am originally from Chennai, but living here. So started here, raised our seed fund back then, back in 2021. And yeah, Munich has been kind. No complaints after that, other than starting up. But then the ecosystem is in general small. It's not a startup frenzy town. Maybe Berlin is one such place. I would recommend anybody from Germany or anyone from Europe visiting Berlin or other cities like Barcelona, for instance, for startups. If you are into startup in EU, then Berlin, Barcelona, and a couple of cities are there for startup frenzy people.
Yes, so I just want to go back to the part where you said you had like most of your upbringing in Chennai, right? You did your bachelor's from there. So, presuming that you did a bachelor's in technology itself, you had a clear idea, even back in the last decade and previous to your master's, there were startups culture just on the brink of entering the Indian ecosystem. And you were aware of that, right? So, how does that affect leading a startup in Europe compared to that of the Indian ecosystem?
Indian ecosystem is quite flexible, right? And as you said, 10 years ago, startup scene was just booming back in India.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Bangalore is obviously one of the crazy places in India. Chennai was a traditional place which picked up a little later than places like Bangalore, Mumbai, and Pune, in a way. And we are not known for startups, to be honest, right? There is Zoho, which is obviously one of the big names in India right now, but they never raised funds. They were all bootstrapped, and they recirculated the money inflow that they got from the customers. So massive respect to Zoho founder. But then there were few companies that carved out of Zoho. So for instance, um, uh, there was one. What was that? Kiss Flow was one of the good startups, and Fresh Desk. Yes, I was searching for that name. So they were coming out of Zoho, and then ChargeBee was coming out of Zoho. So in Europe, in Western world, people say PayPal mafia because a lot of startups came out of PayPal. And similarly, back in Chennai, we used to say that there is a Zoho mafia. A lot of startups came out of Zoho, and that was also at the nascent stage. It was a very early stage back then, and for us to look up to startups, to look up to entrepreneurs was not the case back then, 10 years back. And now I'm glad the scene is totally different. Now Mumbai, Bengaluru, Chennai, Pune, Gujarat, all have been Hyderabad, all have been fantastic cities. If you are a founder, if you want to raise funds, if you want to build a company, we have seen so many unicorns in the last few years. India has hit 100 plus unicorns in recent times, if I'm aware of, and if I'm right. So yeah, so Chennai was not a startup frenzy place back then. Now it is. So I wish I also build something from Chennai pretty soon.
So I would want to go another 3 years after that. Say as a data scientist, right? You were training as one, and if I'm correct, Web3 and AI were at the cusp of becoming something greater than like what it was back then, right? You had two choices. You could have been either in the Web3 ecosystem or in the AI ecosystem. What, why, like, what made you incline towards Web3 more as a data scientist?
Yes, so I always wanted to try out new stuffs, right? That there has been the curious case of Benjamin, if you ask me. Right? So I always wanted to try out new things. I have been a cricketer here in Munich, even though Munich is not known for its cricketing sport. It's a very football frenzy nation. And to come up with cricket, I've led teams. I used to captain a team back in days, and then I started something that is on YouTube. When the whole influences thing picked up, I wanted to also give it a shot back then. So I always try things, right? So when I wanted to start up, I wanted to be different. I wanted to be unique. I wanted to grab a space that is uh, going to capture a lot of eyeballs and then capture a lot of market as we progress. And my gut feel was right. When back then, when I did my electrical engineering, I picked up AI and data. Right? I didn't do AI by studies. I didn't do data by my bachelor's or master's degree. I ended up as a data scientist 10 years ago. Back then, data was not even a thing, to be honest. And I somehow feel that the history will repeat. Data will become like data became prominent. I really hope blockchain and Web3, in particular NFT space, will also become a popular thing in 7 years from now, because it's already been 3 years. So I guess by 2030, there'll be more and more blockchain applications, more and more informations, more and more assets will be put on chain, and that is what I'm really looking forward.
Well, that's great. You addressed all the Web3 and even like just the whole bigger data field, right? You addressed its flaws, you addressed its opportunities, and you had a vision about that. The idea came in, and luckily in September 21, you even raised a seed funding of 200K, right? So, how did that change Bitcoin's trajectory immediately with that funding coming into the picture?
So yeah, we started with a small angel, and then we closed a seed of in total 750K, which is slightly less than $1 million. But then I was really cautious on getting VCs on board right from the seed. Right, I never went with a very small angel round and then sort of settled down, because I live in Germany, and for me the costs are way higher than a normal person living in India. So wanted to raise a good capital so that I don't have to sweat about money for the next couple of years, and that is exactly what happened. Raised close to $1 million back in 2021. Started up, grew a team from 4 to 10 in a quick time, and now we are 40, 4x from there. In fact, 10x from the start, 4 to 40 now, and have seen massive progress from 1 million to $12 million. So that's 12x on the funding side, 10x on the team side. And we are right now live on 3 locations. We have offices in Chennai, Bangalore, and Munich, and then we have colleagues sitting in Barcelona, South Korea, Belgium, and London. So that's quite a widespread. If somebody would have told me that this would happen in about 3 years or 2 years from now, I would have even laughed at myself because I had these plans laid out, but to execute is different, right? Plan or idea is something that everybody can come up with. Plan is something that anyone can prepare, but the execution is what matters. And I'm glad that we have executed it so far. It went well as per plan, and I'm sure we will carry the momentum forward into the next years.
You mentioned briefly earlier in one of your responses that Munich is a tough environment for a startup. Right? So, how were you tackling that hurdle, if you may? Like in raising capital and even increasing the team size.
Yep. I mean, like I said, it has become my home away from home. It has become my second home after Chennai. So obviously, I'm used to the local climate, or the political scene, or be it economic situation. So for me, it's easier to uh, draw blood from here rather than uh, cutting something open in a new place where I haven't touched the grass, right? So wanted to be a little traditional in a way where we started. We started with Munich, expanded to Chennai, Bangalore. Wanted to keep things simple, right? If you start something up, starting up is already a risk in a way, right? It's not everyday's thing, everybody's thing. So to add a lot of complexities on top is something that I wanted to avoid, especially at the beginning. And yeah, that is exactly what happened.
No, you were absolutely right when you were talking about that. Like I can, or rather, as they say, the first million is always the toughest compared to the coming ones. And I guess you guys raised 3.6 millions after that. Like in scaling your operations. So that would have had a massive impact again on like the way the quality of the operation increased, the R&D for your products, right? What was the scenario within receiving the awards that came after that from the successful operations?
So yeah, I mean, yes, the first million was really tough, but then people say the next millions will follow. Yes, it followed. We raised another 3.6, which is close to $4 million, end of 2022, right? And that was not, I mean, early 2022, if I recollect. That was also not easy because I had to close bigger investors like Coinbase Ventures. Coinbase Ventures is one of the publicly listed companies in the US, and to close Animoca brands, Polygon, Chainlink was a challenging task in a way. And yeah, things went as planned. That gave us a good impetus, good force to move ahead. So we received few awards back then. We have been receiving awards since then. One of the recent awards that I would like to touch upon is getting awarded as one of the best startups in the Web3 space from Accenture, India, one of the best firms out there. And then we received the best impact startup award from PwC Germany, PricewaterhouseCoopers. And then obviously getting awarded from Accenture and PwC sort of validates or puts a check mark or a tick mark on what you're building, right? Because these companies have been there, done that, and in a massive scale. They have foothold on more than 100 plus countries. And when you get awarded from such stalwarts, then I'm more than happy in a way.
It brings pride, obviously, and it's a great morale boost. Like if other people also, like your employees, who can have a sense of belonging towards the company, towards the startup, towards the product, right? They can feel like the 56-inch. I don't know what I'm saying at this point, but no, seriously, the I've been reading about your investors, and like as a non Web3 person, I've heard about these guys, and they are some of the biggest names out there in the VC ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, I still don't understand how did you manage that. Like, what was the boost? Like, what was pushing you through and through, like to go for that big of an achievement?
Mhm. It's all about the mindset in a way, right? You wanted to achieve something. So I break things into uh, simpler goals, right? Smaller goals. So I have a bigger vision, bigger target that I wanted to achieve, and along the way, I set smaller goals. So that's how I do small pockets, and I close them out, get it out of my way, and then keep looking for the next one. So having received an award from Accenture uh, didn't stop us from achieving another one, right? And that's how we went with PwC, getting an award from there. And we also work with EY, Ernst and Young, another big force in the world. So we were one of the graduates of the Web3 program in Frankfurt, Germany. So like again, if you settle down or if you celebrate anything too much, then there would be a that would put a dent on your progress. It is good to enjoy. It is okay to enjoy. You can definitely celebrate, even throw a party, but then you have to realize that there is a long way ahead. You have to realize that there is a long road ahead, and realizing that. is a good thing as an entrepreneur. You have to keep achieving, you have to keep looking for what's next. What is next has always been the question on my mind, and I am sort of passing it on to the team. So everybody in the team sort of stays upright, goes out there and tries to accomplish things, and they come along the team and the management, right? So yeah, glad to have such an amazing team. So sometimes I feel like I'm stealing most of the credits, but the credits has to go to the team. They have been crushing it. They have been delivering it right from the beginning, and I'm just the face of the organization. So it's about them rather than me.
No, I mean, even they would agree that all of the efforts come together with great leadership indeed. And I want to talk about your success. So you had like a massive success, as we have been talking about funding, we have talking about awards. The I wouldn't call it a downside, but one aspect of it is it puts you on the map, right? It makes your competitors be aware of you. Okay, now these guys are also in the market. Maybe some of them are already established, maybe some of them are just planning to come up with their own idea for a startup. So within that light, who do you consider your immediate competitors in the NFT data analytics space particularly?
Mhm. I mean, we started with NFTs as a space, but now we are moving beyond NFTs. So we wanted to be a blockchain analytics company, and there are competitors in all the businesses, right? I mean, everybody loves competition, and especially I mean, for me, the biggest inspirations are MS Dhoni and Virat Kohli. So I take up a lot of inspirations from cricketers out there who are from the native place, from the home ground, in a way. And if you look at both, one is cool as cucumber, calm-headed, and the other one is full of aggression, right? Everybody loves Virat's energy on field, where he thrives for energy, and he asks the team to be super fit. On the other hand, Dhoni is like super cool, stays calm, and then composed, and then never frets on any situation. So if you want to get the best of the both worlds, then that is something that I need to have it on my mind. And yeah, there will be ups and downs. There will be competitors. So there is Nansen, there is Dune Analytics, there is chain analysis on the forensic side, elliptic on the forensic side. But in a way, if Facebook thought there was Orkut even before we started, we wouldn't have had Facebook with us now, right? I mean, now it is Meta, but then Facebook appeared after Orkut was actually dominating the market at some point. And and same with browsers, right? You see Internet Explorer is one thing, Mozilla Firefox, and then Apple Safari, and Opera, and then Chrome, Google Chrome. It's all about competition. It's all about capturing the market needs and the segment that likes you. So even today, Opera browser is there, Microsoft Edge is there, what Safari is there. So you should just keep building and keep delivering quality stuffs, and people will use it, right? I mean, look at Amazon is there. That doesn't stop people like what Flipkart, or even Blink, exactly, right? And Walmart, after being such a prolific player in the industry, they moved digital some time ago, and they're also crushing their game. So it's all about what you do rather than what others build. I would say founders who want to build stuffs just focus on what's on their plate rather than looking around and see what's the food left on their end, what are the different types of desserts or full meals that are available on others' plate. Rather, I would say even if it is a single item on your plate, focus on that, be happy with whatever you have, and then keep your focus on keep focusing on why you started, what you wanted to deliver, and then where you want to go. That would propel any founder to the next level.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Are there people who directly approach you for advice, particularly within the Web3? I'm pretty sure there must be. And if they do, how do they reach out to you, and how do you manage your time? Like apart from your company.
I am I'm very strict when it comes to my calendar. So I place smaller chunks on my calendar to do certain stuffs, and I'm very approachable. I mean, the team from Newzchain Podcast also reached out to me via email, so I keep looking out on my emails, my social handles. Uh, Nowadays, I don't get to look up to that a lot, as I have a team looking after that. But nevertheless, I look at my emails. Vijay Pravin Maharajan at gmail.com is where I keep reading emails every single day before I go to bed, or as soon as I get up in the morning. And my social handles. Now I am being followed by more than 100,000 people across my socials. 54,000 on LinkedIn, 20,000 on Instagram, and then uh, 10, 12,000 on Twitter, and some other social media, right? So being followed by 100,000 actually puts a lot of weight on my shoulders, because now I'm responsible for what I talk. I'm more responsible for what I share publicly, right? So I wanted to add value. So even for this podcast, if people listen, they spend their 30, 40 minutes, or even an hour to listen to me. So I wanted to add value regardless of what I do, right? Be it a pod, be it a Twitter space, be it whatever. I wanted to add value at the end of the day, because that is what you can do. I can do as an entrepreneur, right? I can keep sharing, I can keep adding value to them, and it is up to the people to take it or leave it, right? Because nobody can force anyone to follow certain people, certain ideology, or a certain thing. But if you put it out there on the internet, and if people want to revisit it, people want to look back, let's say even in 2030s, this link is going to be there. It's going to be available in on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Podcasts. They can always go back to it and listen to this piece anytime. That's the beauty of being in a digital era.
It is. So I want to sidetrack for a minute. We have been talking about your work and work balance. I want to understand your work-life balance. Like you have a lot of things that you're doing. You're socially active. You're running a successful venture. So how do you manage? How do you give time to your family, being a family man yourself, and also to other hobbies? Maybe like you're invested in cricket. So do you follow IPL? How does that scenario play out?
Yeah, work-life balance has always been a thing, and then I've always voiced out for work-life balance right from the beginning. If you look at my LinkedIn, I at least talk about the balance at least once in a month. I keep talking about it more often, but then it's good in a way, right? Because as a leader, I wanted to set the blueprint. I want to lay it out there so that others follow suit. I also wanted to inspire other entrepreneurs who always like to work, and then they sort of get burnt, right? So I one thing I was clear is I never want to get burnt or overused at certain point, because as long as I keep myself healthy, as long as I keep uh, myself in good condition, that will obviously reflect on bitsCrunch. So I prioritize my family, my health. I never work on Saturdays and Sundays. So even after starting bitsCrunch for the last 3 years, I never used to take work calls on a Saturday or a Sunday. Yes, at the beginning I used to, because at the beginning there was not a lot of people. I used to be the sales guy, I used to be the marketing guy, I used to be the legal of the team, wearing different hats. But nowadays I never used to do that. And having lived in Europe for more than a decade, I wanted to take some time off, spend time with family. And like I mentioned, I have a little one who is turning 3 pretty soon. So I am always cautious about these things. I wanted to lead by example, right? Not just talk on social media, but then I wanted to implement it on my own life, so that others follow suit, and see if they can take some inspirations here and there.
That's a great example. I guess whoever was listening to this podcast, they can take an inspiration and note to the fact that when the Vijay sir was beginning, he was not taking Saturdays and Sundays off. This is for my team as well, who insist me to take their days off on the weekends. Uh, but yeah, moving it. I still am curious. Like, which I do you follow IPL? Like being a
Oh,
cricket fan
of
yourself?
course. Of course. I'm a big
Uh-huh.
CSK fan. I'm obviously coming from Chennai, and that's
Uh-huh.
none other than CSK on the minds. But I really love Mumbai Indians as well. I always take these two teams as reference and share analogies with the team. So because we wanted to be a CSK, if you look at how things are, how the environment is set up, how the whole management works. And on the other hand, we want an equal mix of both youngsters as well as experienced folks like Mumbai, right? And then look at these two teams. At the end of the day, they own the most championship titles, right? Out of all the 13, 14 IPLs or whatsoever, they have got 10 out of the all trophies that have been won so far. So I have always been big fans of Dhoni and Sachin back then, and then afterwards Sachin left behind him. So yes, I do take a lot of time. I mean, I don't sit and watch the entire 40 overs nowadays unless it's a weekend game. But on a weekday game, it's really hard to keep track of every single ball. But sometimes for crucial matches, I have my tabs open. I have either Crick Bus or Crick Info open so that I can switch back to tabs and follow what's happening. Or sometimes I turn on my notifications for certain games so that I keep track of what's happening around.
And that's like a really massive bit of inspiration. Like you don't have to let go of your hobbies and interests just because you're giving all in for your venture or your idea. So I would like to use an analogy. So even these franchises, as you would have seen, they are buying a couple of teams in South African League as well now. Apart from that, Caribbean League. So they have like an array of products, which coincidentally your startup also has. So can we talk about Likescore and Liquify in that too?
Yeah, for sure. Yes, I mean every company evolves, right? And every company has wide range of products. I mean, if you start up and if you don't have a wide range of products or features, then the business is not evolving, in my opinion. So we have a B2C product which is called unleashnfts.com. We have a B2B solution where we focus on wash trading, money laundering, price estimation of assets, wallet analytics, portfolio analytics, and so on. So we keep building, like I mentioned, we keep building, we keep innovating, and we want to give the best uh, to the people. Like at the end of the day, we want to safeguard Akshats and Vijays of the world, where they feel safe about investing into blockchain. They feel safe about what is good and what is bad. Right? It's like the antivirus softwares of the early days, right? Back in days, we used to have Norton antivirus and Kaspersky antivirus. Why do we need that? Because it gives us an additional layer of security wherein which we don't get affected by any malicious softwares or bugs on the computer. So we wanted to be that layer, and that's why we work with EY, Accenture, and even Mastercard. Mastercard is obviously one of the big names in the industry, and everybody owns a Mastercard in our pockets. So always wanted to be the best and work with the best to deliver the best data. And I really hope that we are keeping our words intact.
That's quite important, and like I mentioned maybe in the beginning of the episode, like we have been seeing a lot of scammy NFTs. We have been seeing rather a trend where NFTs values are going down. Even like the influencers, even the big names in the Hollywood, they are selling off their NFTs. So I want to ask, how is that affecting bitsCrunch amidst all of that?
Mhm. Yes, external influences are always there in any cases, right? I remember a scenario where uh, Cristiano Ronaldo just moved a water bottle and said, "Drink water."
Uh-huh.
Right? He moved away Coke bottle,
Coke. They had a
and then
$4 billion loss. Yeah.
yes, they had a $4 billion loss just after the press conference, and in a matter of few hours, a few days, right? So this can happen anywhere, right? A player like Cristiano Ronaldo can move $1 billion from the market. So think of it. How many influences do we have these days? So back in days, it was pretty more centralized. There will be few actors. There will be few sportsmen, but today we have n number of influencers. There are more influencers these days than I call startups, right? If you go and count startups in Bangalore, I guess influences are like 5x, 10x of that number, right? So you can easily influence people, and if you do a targeted marketing, anything is possible these days, right? If you bring in Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo as a brand ambassador, I guess you can turn into a billion-dollar company, right? So in this world, yes, external factors can affect your game, can also propel your game. It is on how you see things, how you perceive things, and in a way that is not under your control, right? I always say some things can be controlled, not everything can be controlled, right? Say same like how Dhoni says, these are not the controllables, these are not under your control, right? So as an entrepreneur, as a builder, if you focus on external things, and if that affects you, then that will obviously create a dent on the business. Like I mentioned, keeping yourself in good shape, keeping yourself intact is very important, as uh, keeping the employees happy, looking after the business, and so on. So external things fluctuate. So today, whoever is buying might be selling it the next day, or the next year, right? I mean, why a person is buying something, obviously he would love to flip, trade that, or sell something off after a while. So that is everywhere. You can see that everywhere. So yeah.
So you briefly mentioned expanding your products beyond NFTs as well. Can you give us like a quick sneak peek into what types of digital assets you're aiming to include next?
Yeah, sure. So we started with NFTs as a space, and if you look at NFTs, only 5% of the blockchain community is into NFT. So that is very less. And if you look at the whole blockchain space, only 5% of the world is into blockchain. So, and what we are focusing at the end of the day is NFTs, which is far less than 1% of the world's population. So we wanted to move beyond NFTs, and in a way, we wanted to see what is happening on the DeFi space, what is happening on the broader chain level, what is happening on the Ethereum ecosystem, what is happening on Solana ecosystem, what is happening on Polygon ecosystem. So we wanted to keep track of digital assets lying around on every chains, and best way to do is obviously use the data knowledge that we have, use the knowledge that we have been doing for the last few years, and I see the results, right? We People are seeing the results. We have been continuously partnering with big names, closing customers. People are using us. People can see how many tokens have been staked on the ecosystem. So yes, we are growing. We are growing each and every day.
Mhm. I was reading about how you guys are broadening your horizon, which is quite ambitious. And within such expansion, you are trying to take up technologies that are coming up and coming in the market, rather, such as AI. So, how do you plan to adapt your AI technology to cater to a wider range of digital assets?
Yep. So AI has been a blessing in the space, right? It's like a coin. It has two sides, good and the bad. So if AI is used in a good way, obviously it can create many new things in a much faster way. And on the other hand, if it goes into the bad hands, obviously people can use the same AI to disrupt the good things. So in a way, you need to find the good and bad. You need to deploy AI only if it is necessary. It doesn't mean that just because AI is lying around, just because people have AI these days, you don't have to force fit AI onto what you build. Because I see founders making that mistake nowadays, where they force fit AI, they include AI just for the sake of including AI, and then lose track of what they wanted to build. So rather than force fitting some things unnaturally, let it happen automatically, let it happen naturally where you want a need for AI. So that is something that we have been very cautious upon. We have been cautious on, where we set things, set boundaries, where we wanted to focus, what's the highlight, what's the roadmap be, and yeah, things are in good shape.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even though AI's evolution is a game changer, but it's still or rather, an individual still have to be like considerable of the market dynamics, like you have been, which makes me like curious about like NFT situation yet again. NFT saw a boost in Europe and North America, like when it was at its peak a couple of years ago. So how does the shift, like now South America adapting to it, especially Southeast Asia, India is a big market for NFT as well. How have you guys been preparing for these kind of shifts?
Mhm. So yes, there has been a lot of traction, a lot of eyeballs around the Southeast Asia, especially for the NFT space. And the West has always been spending a lot on blockchain, right? If you look at the blockchain space, even though US seem to be rigid in terms of blockchain rules and laws and regulations, they have been deploying a lot of capital into the market by developing, by innovating stuffs. They've had a good chunk of startups coming out of US every year, right? And if you look at the NFT space, most of the users are pretty much from the Southeast Asian zone, where people from Thailand, Indonesia, India, China, they have been early adopters of the digital era, digital realm, and that's been a shift that we are focusing on both ends, right? We have on the one end we wanted to cater to the needs of the West. On the other hand, we wanted to cater to the needs of these pockets where social digital world NFTs and digital assets are widely talked about. And there is also Dubai, which has been a go-to place for a lot of founders in the space. So every single region is different, and in a way, marketing is needed in a different way for all these pockets, because you cannot market the same product which you market in the US with the same template here in Southeast Asia. That doesn't work. So finding the right way to approach a problem was also a tricky thing. And I'm glad that we have a team that has people to focus on different pockets. So yeah, in a way it's good. And it's also a learning curve, right? We are still growing. I will not say that we have achieved this in this region. Rather, I would say we are growing. We are constantly evolving, and by the time we get the right data out, that is when people can see things in general.
No, you're absolutely right. I can agree upon the fact like your product has to evolve based on the market's need, or rather on the needs of your user base, especially in Southeast Asia, where the user base is more, what's the word? Okay, my vocabulary is shit right now. Yeah, like we are more critical of the product. We want the best quality out of the cheapest possible service, right? And you guys here into, I'm gonna quote you, policing the NFT market itself. So, are you deploying any kind of resources for particular regions for community engagement or even user education regarding NFTs in the coming years?
Mhm. So we have an ambassador program where we have handpicked people, players from different pockets, different regions, right? We have people from Nigeria, for instance, Turkey, Russia. So we have people globally sitting and vouching for bitsCrunch and talking about bitsCrunch. That in a way is propelling the way forward. And yeah, things are moving on the right direction. I mean, obviously, to spread the network, to spread the protocol, you need to talk a lot, and you shouldn't be the only person talking about it. At the end of the day, you need people talking about the protocol, sort of be the voice of what you build, and that is in a way a community-driven thing in blockchain. And good that we have close to 10,000 token holders in about 50 days since launch, which is already a good thing because we are a new protocol, new layer, and to have 8,000, 9,000 holders, it's really a grateful thing. So yeah, we focus on Southeast Asia, and also we wanted to focus on the Middle East region, MEA, and yeah, things are slowly evolving.
Yeah, that's great. Someone with your experience, if there's an advice coming, not just advice, a product like that coming into the market, it's very valuable to everyone involved within the venture. Apart from that, in again, you have a massive experience, and everyone in Newzchain team can just look up to you in terms of that. What advice would you give to startups entering the NFT or rather broader Web3 and blockchain space?
Mhm. For any space, be it blockchain or be it AI or any space, as a founder, I would say remain humble, because if you raise 10, 20, or $100 million, the ball might turn against you the very next year, or the years later, a few years later, right? So it's not about how much capital you raise, how much revenue you make. Always stay grounded and stay focused on why you started, where you wanted to go, and what you want to achieve in this journey, right? Rather than uh, focusing on fancy things. So just focus on the fundamentals. I would suggest every founder out there to focus on the fundamentals, focus on what's there, what problem you solve, and are you adding value to your customers? Are you adding value to the clients, the investors, and the people that are following you? Just focus on the fundamentals, and just don't fret a lot about the external factors. Yes, in startup world today, you could be a $1 billion company. The very next year, you could be a 300 mil, where your price gets slashed by 70%. That can happen. So enjoy the ride. There'll be ups and downs. There'll be zigzag curves on the way, but make sure to keep holding on to the thread. That would be my advice.
That's a great advice. I hope everyone can take a word or two from out of that to imply it on their own journeys. Lastly, as we look to the future, what's your ultimate goal for bitsCrunch, and how do you envision its impact on the digital asset world?
Mm. So if you look at the current scenario, the top 10 Fortune 500 companies, be it Google, Meta, Twitter, Tesla, or whatsoever, Microsoft, IBM, everybody heavily relies on data. So what that tells you, that data is very important in this digital era, and we are glad to be in such a data space where our information, our data is vital for a lot of people out there, and we aim to be the go-to place for blockchain data in the future. So if there is a place, if there is a repository for data, I would want bitsCrunch to be the best place for data when it comes to blockchain. I wanted to be a data leader, market leader in the blockchain space.
I can vouch for that. Like based on the current growth, we can always, and coming from a very uh, successful person such as yourself, it would be a great journey. We would like to wish you all the best from the side of Newzchain, and it was really great having you. Thank you for taking out your really precious time to grace us with your presence. Thank you so much, Vijay sir.
Thanks a lot, Akshat, and thanks a lot for the whole team. Because I know that it's not just you. There is a team behind you who are preparing posters, who are setting up this call, for instance. A big shout out for the whole team, and keep doing the good work. Keep up the good work. I would definitely love to collaborate again. So looking forward to our episode and the other episodes as well. Thanks a lot for having me again.
Thank you so much. And with that, we have come to the end of our episode. We'll be back with more delightful anecdotes, crisp insights, and invaluable advice. So thank you for tuning in. We release our episodes on all podcast friendly platforms on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I look forward to catching up with you guys at the next one. So, alright, this is where we phone it in, metaphorically speaking, of course. Don't forget to subscribe to us for more updates and tidbits about our episodes. You can catch more content around the episodes, such as behind the scenes and bloopers, by following us in the links placed somewhere around here. So, ciao.